Welcome back, guys. In the middle of a zillion projects, kind of caught up on some of them. Working on this new handmade frame, and I've sort of lost steam. I kind of want to work on it. I'll kind of want to work on it some more a little bit later. What I've been thinking about, though, is making a stem. So, secret, I don't know when his birthday is, but I guess secret birthday stem for Curtis. He keeps talking about wanting one of those removable faceplate quill stems. Probably for 31/8 bar, I'm thinking. You know, like Nitto makes one, they're expensive, and, you know, Velo Orange has one. They pop up once in a while on Craigslist, but they're never quite the right thing for them, they're expensive. He's done a lot of nice stuff for me. I think I want to make a quill stem, so I think I'm just going to make Curtis one. Even though I charge zillions of dollars, I don't really have any customers or anything that's going on. I did have a cool lady yesterday. She came in and had some anything cage mounts on the fork of her clunker, so she should go do some more bike packing. So that was really fun. I did a big Instagram post about it. So what I have is, this is my stem tubes. They're specialty chromoly straight gauge, slightly thicker walled tubes. I mean, really for stem you need like 0.9 wall tube, but I think I usually go a little thicker than that. I'm heavy, a little paranoid about stems. All the old steel stems are heavy as shit because they're not chromoly and they're thick. So they'll still be lighter and nicer than most stems, and stronger. So this is my 7/8, and then I got some 1" and some oversized stuff, 1 1/8", and some stuff big enough to make a clamp for a 31/8. I got some other stuff. Oh, that's what that is. Here's my little bin. These are little stem clamp areas, so I can cut this down, make it a bar clamp. I think this is 26/0. I got these cute little old Paragon Machine Works barrels. I think they're all for 26/0 stems too. I got some Brazons. These are some fun things I saved. Here's like an alloy bolt with an alloy wedge, super light. Here's just some regular bolts and some regular wedges out of some old stems. They're all kind of short. Curtis probably wants a pretty tall stem. I'm gonna see if I have something pretty tall. And then I've got some stem caps. This is like an aluminum top. A lot of stems use these to sit on the top of this 7/8 tube, and the stem bolt goes in. So I have some of those. I do also hoard the steel ones off other bikes, so I can just braze them in. So I might do something like that. I did get some cool Mitch Pryor steel ones. I think I've only got 2 or 3. Or I only have 2. I think I only have 2. I think Corey Thompson said he might give me 1. So I'm going to save this for something. These are cool. These have to go on handmade bikes. So they're very much like just a generic alloy stem cap. But my friend Mitch Pryor made these years and years ago for a batch of bikes he did. So they sit in, your stem head sits in here, and then they have an aluminum with a couple of threads, little top cap, little knurling on the side to go down. They're aluminum, so we stamp my logo in here, stamp dates. The old French constructors, they stamp the customer's name in, and all sorts of cool stuff. So I have this stuff. I'm gonna go dig through my stems and try and find a long one of these. I know I have Technomic ones. 10 or 15 bucks you can buy a brand new one of these from Nitto, and just about any length you want for different Technomic stems with the aluminum wedge. You can always order a new one. It'd be fun if I had stuff that was just sitting here already. I'm gonna get this whole thing done in a day. But the first issues I'm going to have is this piece of thick 7/8 for the quill. First thing I need is these 7/8 tube blocks, 22/2, which is what most modern quills are. There's some vintagey stuff for BMX and Schwinn, and some cheapy stuff that's a little bit smaller. Most stuff's 22/2. 22/2 is 7/8. It is the same thing. Why else would you make a weird fractional metric size of 22/2? Unless it was because it was trying to be something else, which was 7/8. So this is like a little deburring tool. I'm going to go on the inside. When this tube was cut, you know, it left some rough edges. I'll take care of those. Same with the outside. The outside's got the rough edges. I want no burrs. I want no high spots. This is a new old stock Reynolds 531 butted steer tube. Theory, it should be English. Should we check it out? Got one the other day that turned out to be French, so it's oversized and the threads are different. no bueno. English and Italian threads are basically the same thing. They have a slightly different angle on the threads, so you can just sort of force them to work and it's fine. So this goes on. It's probably English, it feels real nice. I'm checking to make sure it's not French, because some French stuff is undersized. So it takes a 22.0 quill, because why would you make it 22.2? They only work in metric, they never had standard. So everything in metric stuff is like, instead of 28.6 down to, which is inch and an eighth, they have just 28. There's like, top tubes instead of being 25.4, which is 1 inch, they're just 26. So I want to see how well this thing fits. It's not so bad, bro. It's getting real tight right here, but that might be the internal butting in the steer tube. In case you didn't know, now it's full of cobwebs and dust. In case you didn't know, fork steer tubes are not just one solid tube. They're butted internally. So 22.0 up here, but they're like 21 down here. So they're extra thick at the bottom where it needs to be thicker and tougher, because you're going to braze in your steer or your fork crown and your fork blades and all that stuff. That adds a bunch of heat weakened steel, so it's extra thick, just a little bit where it needs to be extra strong, and thinner up here where it's not getting a lot of heat. So that is nice. Without even cleaning this stuff up, this fits pretty good. That's heaven. That's what we want. I've ordered 22.2 tubes in the past, and they've been like not perfectly round, slightly oversized, will not fit. I used to have a lathe that could trim that stuff on. I don't have that anymore, so if it was oversized, to buff it with sandpaper, I might even take a really fine file on any of the high spots and file it, wrap this in sandpaper, chuck this up in the drill so it's spinning like a drill bit, and just hold the file or sandpaper against it up and down. Just thin it a little teeny tiny bit. So that's just we're just starting, getting some of this mill scale off. So I just went and did a quick pass in my used stem bin, and here's this ugly, beat up, probably sketchy. I know people ride these, I don't know if they're fine or not. Weird, ugly zoom stem. These used to be very popular for getting your bars. Your stem's so high and your bar's so high. Everyone wants to be so high and up that their shoulders jammed right to the neck while they're riding because they think it's comfortable. It's not. This is about the tallest used quill stem I have other than a Technomic, which I don't really want to steal the bolt out of. So I'm going to steal the bolt and wedge out of this. And I guess that is going to set the height of our stem. I want this thing to be pretty tall. It's got a steel wedge, but we can always go find an alloy one off one of these other stems. We got several right here. We can just steal. I'll just give it to him the steel wedge. Maybe he won't care. It's super heavy. Of course he will. Buy the heaviest old mountain bike frames, then carry the stem heavy. So I like these steel ones, and I like them in black, because black paint can sand right off. If they're in chrome, chrome's deadly toxic, it's an issue. That fits real nice. This one seems bigger, but I don't know if it is or not. Okay, this fits pretty good in both of them. I could just set this in here and forget it, but I usually braze them in because it looks better. Like I said, cheap steel stems are so thick this thing just flops around, so I braze it in. It's a little tricky to get it just centered right. And I usually just do a little fillet braze around it, and then I'll sand and file the top and make it all smooth and cool. Or we can just set it in. Or I got these alloy ones. These alloy ones are fine. I mean, all the cool kids are doing just alloy stem tops now. Ooh, that one fits nice. It's real tall and domey. The bolt sits a little bit up on it though. I don't know. It doesn't matter. We have some options. 4 or 5 other random alloy ones in here. We can decide when we get there. We gotta decide where it is and cut it down. We need all this extra steel just hanging out in the way. Blimp, 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 blimp. About like that. So I marked it at this fun little angle. So I will have to cut this and eventually file that angle exactly right, which is a bit of a trick. If I had a fancy bandsaw, I could probably just set it. But I'm going to hacksaw it and file, it's going to take me 10 or 15 minutes to do. If I had a fancy bandsaw, it'd probably take me 5 or 10 minutes to set it up, and then 2 seconds to do, and then you have to clean it up anyways. It's like cold out, but I have the door closed and my hat on. It feels a little stuffy in here. I mean, it was like in the 90s yesterday. I think it's going to do that again today. Just sort of guesstimating this line, getting pretty close, because we know we'll be spending some time filing it later. Sick. Wonder how close we are. Bro, that is... I can't even see daylight through that. That is dang close. Won't take much filing later at all. Now this is starting to feel pretty light. All right, so that's it for old tube number 1. Now comes the tricky part. Now we gotta decide what tube number 2 is, which is gonna be the extension coming off. When I make quill stems for myself for really elegant bikes, I use another piece of 7/8. Almost all the production stems do not. I don't know, hold the couple up. So most production stems do not. This is like 1.125" with like a little thing to make it up to an inch, make it a little fatter here. Here's your 7/8 quill, and this guy's also like 1.125". A lot of them pinch it a little bit so it fits the quill better than comes out. Same with this one. It's definitely 1.125" that's pinched down here to make it more oval. Probably makes it stiffer, probably makes it lighter, probably. 2 Uggs. I might just do 7/8 for old Curtis. I've also got... Don't I have some inch? Do I not have any inch? Is this all 1.125"? So I might just go with some 1 inch. But I would never do that because it's ugly. So all I have is 1.125". I think I have 1.125" and maybe a couple different wall thicknesses for 25 4-bar clamp or 26 0-bar clamp, so I'm guessing. So I'm thinking maybe we're just sticking with this 7/8, and then we gotta figure out. So this is 1.375 by 0 something wall. Here is a 31/8 bar I grabbed because it's cut down all bad and I knew no one would want it, except for people keep wanting it. Don't I have another chunk I've already cut? Oh, I do. This is just the clamp section from 31/8 bar. I want to check and see if this is the size for that. And get rid of all the burrs on the inside. We don't need anything sticking out, making it seem too tight when it's not. Yep, that's my 31/8. So this will be the stem clamp area. And I guess we'll use another little piece of short 7/8. I guess. It's not perfectly flat here, doesn't matter. I don't have a fancy stem jig. If I did, I'd want to get it perfectly flat. So I'm just going to cut off a chunk that I think is about wide enough. We'll get it all cleaned up and we miter this little piece of 7/8. We'll stick it on here, make sure it's square. And then we'll braze it on. Maybe I should braze it on first and then cut it down. So I really get a T-square on it, nice and flush. Then we'll hold it up on my alignment. We'll do the miter. We'll stick it on the quill. We'll hold it up on my alignment table with like a handlebar in it. So we come out and measure over here and over here to make sure it's perfectly straight. If it's not, we can do a little adjustment of the miter with a little sandpaper wrapped on a file and just change it from here to there. And that'll, we'll keep doing that until it's straight. And we'll tack weld it and check it again. It's a slow way of doing it. But it'll probably still be straight, and then we will braze it up. What is this? I did get a 31/8 hand reamer. So once it's all brazed up, we can run that through and make sure it cuts any high spots or warp spots out of this. So it'll clamp correctly. Alright, I should clean. Let's clean the top of this up. Got it out while we're doing stuff. Hey, alright. A tubing block I never, ever use ever. It's totally the right thing for this. Have this for like a decade, never use it. We're gonna braze the steer to this, doesn't really matter. I'm gonna cut this into a fun shape that will allow, it's gonna be a 4 bolt, so we'll split it in half. and braze 4 braze-ons on for 4 bolts. So I can cut it in any kind of weird shape I want. Make it fun if we want. Just make it simple if we want to clamp over that bar. But I'm going to get it cleaned up now because I know that we're going to braze right onto this in a minute. Okay, we got this basically ready. Now here's the hard part, the stem. So you have to have this like half round miter to go around this tube, which is the bar clamp. You have to have another half round miter here to go around this tube, which is the quill. So this tube needs to be the right length and have perfect miters. That's tricky. And be straight. I don't really care about length. Everyone cares. It's gotta be 80. It's gotta be 90. It doesn't. It doesn't. So I will probably, Curtis probably wants like an 80. I might cut this 90, 95. So it gives me room to get my file right. If I don't like it, I can keep filing and straighten it up and do whatever. And worst case, it'll end up at like an 80. If I had machines set up, you could just set this right at 80 with a big hole saw and go burp. Set this and burp. And it's real nice. Fancy machines make things faster and more accurate. Slightly, unless you get real good with your hands. So, back to this guy. So we know we want it to be like at least 90. We've got to leave room for those miters. So I'm thinking more like a hundo, bro. Like, let's measure this one and see what it tells us. So this stem from the center of that bolt to the center of the bar clamp is like 100, 101. See what I said? Nothing's really perfect. 101, but that leaves from this miter to this miter, so like the tightest spot up here to the tightest spot on the side is like 74. So 60 to be 80. So we're looking at like 25 extra millimeters for those miters. I'm doing 31/8 instead of 25/4, so that's going to be a little bit bigger. But we're going to want to cut it. Let's cut it 25 millimeters too long. Also got to flatten the top, so I might even go a little bit longer. So let's say that's 90. Let's go. It seems so long. It seems too long. The 31/8 is much bigger. We can get away with less. Let's just go like maybe 15. So 90. Let's go like 105. Worst case, it'll be too short and he'll probably be even happier. Worst case, it'll be slightly too long. I'll be like, dude, it's better for handling. It's true. Especially with cruiser bars and sweetback bars. You actually want the longest stem you can. It makes bikes handle normally. Get that really short stem, your bike starts handling really quick. Like, micro adjusting all the time. I made a sharpen mark on here. Clamp this old 22-2 on here again. Hacksaw this bad boy. Oh, that cut's not very flat at all. Luckily this thing's real close. I'm saving this end with the cut we already made for the next cool stem. Maybe I'll make that today too for my new bike. That makes me more excited on the project. Made a cool stem. So that's fugly. It doesn't really matter now because your quill sits at an angle. Your head tube's like 73 degrees, so your quill's gonna sit at 73 degrees. I don't think Curtis really likes them. They're up and ugly in mountain bike style. He really likes mountain bikes. So I'm probably gonna try and make this like 73 degrees so it sits pretty much level like a sexy road stem. So a little angle in the dangle is coolio with meio. I really don't even need to worry about that end right now. I can just do the 31/8 end right now. Fine, but I want to. Just gonna get it like that. We know we want it to be 7/8, so I'm gonna try and find my disc files. A little bit big, bro. Maybe we'll start with it, and we might come in and small it up with a slightly smaller half-round file. Get some burrs off. I'm just going to kind of pick a line. I'm going to kind of go straight. This is not straight at all. Yeah, it's straight enough. Straightforward. Draw a line right down the center of my tube block, right up the center of this. I want to know where we are, otherwise we start getting it crooked, then we look at it from a different angle, get crooked going the other way. It's no buenos. And with the old file, you push hard going forward, and then you lighten up when you pull it back. So it cuts one way, and it's dull the teeth going the other way. So nice push, 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 light back, push, light back, push. Now as I'm filing, I can see a little bit of the stem over here, not over here, so I'm drifting over this way a little bit. So I'm gonna push this way while going. Take this piece of 7/8 and set it on there and see what it looks like. So it's touching on top and bottom, but it does rock back and forth. That's a little bit wide. So this file is quite a bit skinnier. Let's see what it does. So I'm still more or less on center. Well, it's getting pretty good. It's still a little less bit loose. But like barely. Like definitely good enough. We'll definitely hit it a few more times. And we'll hit it with the sandpaper wrapped around it. And we'll hit it with the sandpaper just wrapped around this to really get that perfect fit. But I'm shooting for 73 degrees, even though all Curtis's old mountain bikes are probably 68 degrees or something cray-cray. I'm gonna go ahead and set this in the vise at an angle. Got my digital angle finder. Says we're at 74. I'll push it back just a little bit. Now we're at 73 degrees. Basically a perfect 73 degrees, if any such thing exists. 73.0809, pretty close, pretty close. Now in theory what we want is this thing to sit level. Oh, baby. Is that level? I don't think so, but it's real close. And it's real sexy. Oh, 0.07, 0.011. This is level. I'm a little bit nailed that I shocked that. I said a little bit nailed that I shocked that. A little bit shocked that I nailed that on the first try. And it's going to change very slightly as we do the final filing and sanding. We'll have to check it again. Oh, frame building, so much sanding and double checking and filing and fiddly bits. Takes a long time to get to the fun stuff. It's usually the finished product. Sometimes it's the brazing. Sometimes I like to do my line and do it down the crack, the split in the block. It's just easier to see. This phone's shutting off every time I'm trying to do something. So I put this guy in this tube, got it where I think it's totally straight, sit it down on this flat machine surface and take a hard edge square and scrape all four sides. It's easier to see down here where it's still dark. But you can see I have this thing not even close to centered. It probably moved. I probably should have clamped it down here. All right, well, we'll do that when we get to the next step if we need it. Mostly I can hold it up and eyeball it and see and get this steer tube raised on, and we have to fine adjust this miter anyways. Because we want the steer tube to be totally flat, so the bars are flat. So if the bars are, we have to adjust this miter in the back to bring it back to where they need to be. So now we're on here where, let's shoot for like 85. Where's 85 from the center of that quill stem to the center here? So this is about where we want the center of the bar. Right, the edge of my little scrape mark, very convenient for holding my spot scrape mark. So that is where we want the center of this giant piece of 31/8. So if you see, that means we got to shorten this guy up quite a bit, about to like here. So here's my center line. So it's not going to be like a straight cut along here. It's going to have like a little half round like this. So it'll wrap up around the bar. That's because 7/8 going to this like 36 mil tube or whatever. It's not going to be much of a miter. It's going to be real shallow. We'll put a big fillet on there. So let's cut. We wasted all this tube. So it goes. So I'm gonna cut this tube a little closer to my Sharpie mark. Well, cut off almost an inch. So I'm gonna do some mitering on here, so I don't want to cut it too short. Really ought to be shooting for 90. Why am I shooting for 80? 80 is so crazy. Let's shoot for 90. Barely any longer, you know, like barely. Now, I mean, in theory, I could braze this side on now. And then miter this side, but I think that's actually a little bit trickier. I think it is. I think it is. I don't remember if it is. It might be. I don't know why I think doing the other side first will be easier. I'm probably totally crazy. Whatever forever. Whatever forever. Okay. Put it in here. Give it the straightest cut possible. Then we'll try and get as flat as possible. Then we'll try and put our miter in. Then we'll try and get our miter straight. This is where it all gets a little tricky. I don't want to open that door yet for customers and noise, but I gotta. It's airflow. It's a little tricky, so we cut the other side. Working on one side at a time's better. Flat-ish. This is my stems. My miter goes this way. So this way needs to be flattish. I did a little sideways mitering. Can't move the camera. It's got to be plugged in. Let's take this guy in here and look. Looking good so far. Still got a big gap on the top and the bottom. So I get this thing in, this thing straight. So I can use these two blocks on the vise. I can tell it's sitting like this. I can line it up. The two blocks are flat, the vise jaws are flat, and it's going. So I have a bias towards this side a little bit, and down a little bit more. Still have to get it level too. So this side looks great. This side's got looks pretty good. A little bit of a gap, could just be burrs. Looking at it across the level face this block, and it's going way down. A little more filing, biasing on this back side. Just creeping up on it. It's looking pretty good. It's still going down this way a little bit. Still going this way a little bit. So a little more on the back side. Bias on this side again. So it's always going to be wrong the same way usually, unless I overcorrect, because I'm always, my body English might be pulling the file a little bit. It's like, you ever notice a guy who broke his collarbone when he was young, rides a Brooks saddle? The saddle's always bent. Every time I see someone with a really bent Brooks saddle, I'm like, hey, got a broken collarbone? I'm like, yeah. This makes you carry your weight weird, makes you bias your body weird. Almost. Looks perfect. I might have actually overcompensated a little bit. The miter looks so good. She's starting to look good. She's still rocking. So I think it's a little bit high around the tips. And see, it's rocking a little bit. Seems like it made everything worse. Yep. Everything worse, and we're all biased again. Need to work on the inside. I almost need like a bigger file. Might have one. Still want to come this way. A little bit. Also, like anywhere along this curve could be one little tiny high spot, especially right up on these corners, which could make the whole thing be thrown off. You might take 1 millimeter off right there and bring the whole thing down. Now this side's the high one again. I can still eyeball along the top of this tubing block, the bottom of this tube, look for daylight in between those two gaps. So look down here, got a centimeter, 14 millimeters, because they come up, that gap closes and closes and closes and closes. It's about perfect. The same thing this way. About perfect. Same thing across this side of the device. It's about perfect. Might need to bias just the tiniest bit in still. Just the tiniest bit. It is as good as it can be with my little eyeballs. It is as good as it can be with my little eyeballs. So we got this bar, pretty standard, most bars. So the little white lines in here so you can set your stem up, little thing in the middle. Or I could go as narrow as these little lines. And if I did a little wider, I could cut a cool pattern, do something weird, but we don't want to out-trick ourselves. We keep it pretty classic and simple. Now that I think it's about perfect, there's one more step. So this is some big fat boy emery cloth. How wide is this emery cloth? Sandbox. 1.5 by 50 yards. So now I can wrap this actual tube we're going to actually be using in this actual sandpaper. And get that miter like perfect. I'm going to be able to see zero daylight through there anywhere. That is a nice, that's a nice line. Still looks pretty dang good. We do have some customers coming today, so I don't actually know we'll be able to get this done, skis. Don't have any of these burrs on the inside. It's a nice fatty, we'll wrap it around some sandpaper. Might as well get all this mill scaled, oil, dust, grease, all that stuff on the inside. If you leave all this oil inside of it, when you get hot and you're brazing, it's just blowing toxic smoke in your face the whole time. Not super pleasant. See all that? That blackness? That could be smoke in your face if you wanted. Now we are full on, mostly clean on the inside. This miter in theory looks great. We can do another test with our little machinist square. Put up against the side, come down right in the middle of this miter, and it should touch both sides. Of course it doesn't. It is saying this side's high. The heat's going to move it more than whatever this is, but it's good to have as perfect as possible. I might hit it just with the sandpaper, wrapped around it again. Just bias on that side a little bit. See if we can get this just as absolutely close as possible. Let's see if that fixed it, made it better, made it worse. That is the side with the arrow. That was the side that was too high. Now it is too low. Wait, it's still too high. Daylight's over here. It's closer than I'm able to do anything about. Alright. Now we're getting to the fun stuff. The holder a ways down. Stay away from that heat. There's that spot I sanded out. We got a little more sanding. We've decided we want this clamp to be like a minimum of 40. We go a little big just to make it look a little different and fancy. We're at 43. Is that weird? Let's go 42. So go a 42. Where's the lowest spot on this? Right there. Where's the center of this? Up here. We're gonna set it on this tube. We're gonna jigger it up with the magnets or something to hold it straight up and down. We can stick the square on it a couple of times. Really double and triple check that this thing is flute. Saying it is flute from that side. It's flute from this side. No daylight, no daylight, no whammy, no whammy. I marked the center. This one do a little over 40, so I can cut it down and stuff. I marked the center. There's a big old 7/8 hole. What we're gonna do to lighten the stem up and to make a nice big vent hole so the brass doesn't blow back in our face. You don't leave your vent hole in, there's no place for the steam to escape. Means it finds the weakest spot of the brass, blows out. So I'm gonna drill a vent hole in here. This thing's 7/8, so I don't wanna go that big. But I'll go at least a 1/4 inch, maybe a little bigger for funsies. If I was smart, I want to save money on drill bits, I'd put oil on this, cut everything the right way. I don't want to do that. I don't want to add oil on here. I'll have to braise it. Sure, I can get it all cleaned off, but I don't want it. Oh, nothing like a Sharpie, freshy bit. Let's make this hole a little bit big for fun skis. Some of that hole basically about as big as this bit will let it before it goes all the way through. You know, little extra sexies. I made these Sharpie lines from the center of this hole all the way down and all the way out. So it protrudes past this little piece of 7/8 tube we're going to braze on here. So I keep it centered. I hate it when I go to braze something. I have a center of the hole, I think, and then when I'm done, I'm like, oh, the hole's like way off to one side. Or like, oh, come on, man. Come on, man. So hole drilled and marked. This guy filed and square. Centered over that. We're going to hold it with magnets. We're going to braze it. You got me, cheapy Harbor Freight magnets. They're for welding, so they make little pockets so they don't get overheat and catch on fire from the welding. So I can grab the tip of this tube at the top of this magnet, bottom of this big tube at the bottom of this magnet, and look right down this hole, which is real nice. So I get it pretty centered, pretty straight, pretty flush, pretty good. I do want to make sure that the magnet's not holding it cockeyed or something, so I'm sticking the square back up against it just to make sure. Oh, yeah, it's trying to pull it up. Magnet, you can't do that. You gotta be pushing it down, bud. We ain't brazing this on cockeyed, bud. See a little daylight over here. Straight, flat, no daylight. Once it's covered in flux, it's going to be hard to see. Flux everywhere I want brass to be. Including the inside. I want to pull that fillet on the inside and have some internal fillet. In theory, everything's still set up. I'm going to wiggle it, push it down on both sides, make sure it's center of the hole, make sure the magnet's not pulling it up and over. Feels real flat, no wiggle. Now if I were smart, I would just tack weld this on so we can adjust this bar. Let's see how smart I am. Just every beat, like fiber of my body is like, just braze it, it's being held straight. It'll be totally fine. Now heat has a tendency to pull it in, so I don't want to do it over on the outside. So I might pull this whole thing away from the magnet. I definitely don't want it on the inside. Let the magnet and the heat pull it up. So I'll probably come on the front and the back with a nice fat tack on both. And that'll also let me move it forward or back more if it needs it, which it probably won't. This little piece of brass rod's long enough. I got some freshy Scotch-Brite. Make sure there's no grease or fingerprints or mill scale from when I made this stuff. Stuff often comes oily and weird. 000. You like about 6 inches of flame. I want the flame to kind of calm down. And for brass, I want a little blue cone at the very tip. About a 1/4 inch long. It's got some red on it because there's some dirty flux or something on there. Making everything worse, trying to knock it off. Making everything worse. We're going to have to clean this tip. A little file brush. It's like the world's worst file. We're just not trying to make it smaller. We're just trying to get dirt and burnt flux off. Maybe come in here with one of these little dudes. I've definitely cleaned these too much with too big of a dude and realize I've actually adjusted my tip. When you get like a new number 1 tip and you go check it, it's like as big as number 3 tip. The old one is, you're like, oh. Okay. No wonder why I've been braising everything so hot. Oh yeah, that is a nice, sharp, little like 5-6 millimeter blue cone. Nice and sharp. And carefully try and melt the water out of the flux. Nice and even, melt the water out, then do a slow preheat. Then with any luck, nothing moves, and we'll tack it. Come to this front face. Get the big pipe hot, get the little pipe hot. Once they start glowing a little bit, they're probably hot enough. Once you get in here, they're gonna get real hot real fast. Melted and pulled it around. Looks good. See the red inside. Melt it and pull it around. Out of this side so we can see any daylight. Doesn't look like it. On this side, what's that look like? Looks perfectly flush to me. Still looks totally straight. I'm just gonna brace it. Tack this side. Come tack this side. I know my brass is all pulled. This is probably not enough brass. Whatever, forever. So what I'm doing now is a tinning pass. I'm going to make sure it's brazed all the way around. If I was smart, we'd stop there and check it, and then we'll come back and do a real fillet later. It's going to be so hard to check when it's this little, though. It's probably straight. It's going to be real hard to braise at this size, too, though. Magnet out of the way. You're never going to get the whole thing hot all the way around ever again. I want to be a cowboy. Okay. I want to be able to rotate it this way, so I make a big pile of brass. I want to be able to rotate it around by hand while I'm brazing without it slipping. That could be pretty loose and stay put. Okay. F it, man. Now, little fillets are all your strength. The tinning is all your strength. Big fillets are just for looks, so make it weaker and more heat cycles, and it's all just for looks. So I usually don't go very massive on the fillets, but this is a big joint. righty-roo. I'm not a master Phillip brazier, so there's a little bit down here. The puddles aren't perfect. Turn, bud. There we go. But it looks pretty good all the way around, pretty even. Won't be a giant nightmare to file. It's easier to build them up on the little sides than it is on the fronts, where you can fall back and stuff. So I need to let this cool. Let it cool. Then we can cut it off. Maybe we should leave it on here where I braze this so it's got something to really hold on to for magnets. We'll get this guy on intact, and then we'll go to the alignment table and check. The only thing I'm really worried about this is going, the quill going this way or that way, making the bar sit in front of you slightly crooked. Those miters were perfect. We tacked it on all the sides. There's no daylight anywhere. Theory, it'll be perfect. Now we got to worry about it being up and down wire right, and not be like this or like that, instead of like this or like that. We'll get that all mitered on here once this is cool. Double check, tack it, go to the table, check, and most likely she'll be fine. And we'll get that all finished brazed too. Then we got to put one of these caps in the top, finish file on the bottom, braze the 4 bolts, 2 on each side, onto this, split the stem, ream the stem. Still got another hour or 2 to go to all the filing, and I don't know when customers will show up soon, but now I gotta wait on this. See, if I would have done this first, I could be making this, but I'm waiting on this to cool. Come on, man, cool. All right, I pulled this. Well, this is cool now. Nice big holes, nice. Can see in there. Can see the internal fillets. See that brass? Almost all the way around. There's some burnt flux and stuff, but I can see 4 or 5 real big spots just all the way through. Real obvious. I bet it's under there the rest of the way. I just went ahead and marked this. I filed this a little bit flusher, and I marked this about 42 mils. So I'm going to hacksaw this, and I'll file it flush, and I'll file it flush, and I'll try and get off the center line. About the same. About the same. Hacksaw, hope not drift in a whole bunch here. And there we have it. So far, so good. So far, so good. This looks ridiculous, this little 7/8 dude up to here. Maybe I should have pinched some 1 inch. I should buy some 1 inch. Thought I had some. I might have some somewhere. Because that is like so much, bro. It's like so much. She's looking good so far. Everything looks good so far, more or less. Now we just gotta get this miter perfect, so this will be a totally flat. So the bar is going parallel to the earth where this is sitting straight up and down. Do a little bit of filing on this, just a little. Get this thing pretty flat. I think I got a 31/8 flat bar somewhere and stuff in here. Stuff this in. It's got some burrs. Oh, it's got a bit of a twist. That's gonna be the problem. A little bit of the riserness makes her not want to slide in. And clean some burrs out of there. There's a little bit of flux in here making it tight. 31/8 flat bar would be better. I swear I grabbed one. Maybe I haven't yet. But I can just cut one whole side off this bar. I keep needing to. I'm going to need another 31/8 flat bar to put in here on the alignment table so I can measure off both sides. I'm going to dig through my bars real quick.